People, this is take two of my P900 camera repair. If you remember, or if you care to watch the last video, once I got everything back together again, I'd actually um, put it all back together again. The zoom was working. It still is, and but I tried to reset this cable here. Uh, this is the screen cable, and this little cable here is the for the buttons. Now, if you may recall, what was happening is I could scroll through the button by turning the thumb wheel here, and the uh, the OK button wasn't working, and the left button was working, but the right one wasn't. So I couldn't navigate through to the menus to set the clock. And it obviously, when I was in the I couldn't adjust the time, or I couldn't select any of the settings. Everything seemed to work except this. So I wasn't sure if it was anything I had done. So I tried to reseat the cables a few times, and what had actually happened was I reset the cable a few times, and I still could not get it to work. So I had to remove the cable, and I took a closer inspection. Now, what I could have done is actually swap this PCB here, this PCB, which has the little functions for the switch on. There's a little sensor down here, which is this little button here. This sensor here, can't think you see that, but and obviously the little circuit which connects all these functions here. And obviously the data is actually passed through here into the processing board down here. So it's either this side that's not working, or it's something down here. Now the cable, if I looked at the ends here, they looked all in good order. The cable does look in good order. I haven't taken this off, but I've taken the one off of my other broken down P9, and there's not a lot on it, to be honest. It's there's not a lot to go wrong. This is well strain relief behind. So I decided to think, well, maybe that's okay. I could have tried the other one, but the screen cable isn't that good. So I decided to pay attention then to actually have a look at the connector. Now, what I found, in rather interestingly, is that um, the actual connector itself, um, this one here, there's actually, when I was trying to put the cable in, I looked under my trusty microscope, or my magnifying lens. What I noticed is on the back array of the pins, one was actually loose. And when I actually tried to push the cable in, I could have sworn I saw one of the pins move. Now, it could have been the fact that I had actually been stressing the connector putting in, and but the solder joints on those back array of pins aren't 100%, and I think there's bad connections there. So if I put this down, I took a few shots of the picture, and what I shall drag over is I shall show you. I took a magnification of this picture. Now what you're looking at here is the little flap of the connectors up at the moment, and all the front pins, because they're staggered. Yeah, so you have a connection here, a connection up inside there, connection here, they're staggered, bum, 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 all the way along. Now the solder connections look quite good down here, and even though it's, I hope you can see that, they don't look too bad at all. I shall remove that photo, and this one, this photo here is where, this is now looking at the, if I bring this photo over to here, now let's bring it to there, so maybe not. This, let's bring this one closer to there. So what you're looking at there is this connector. Let's bring it around. It's actually around this way here. So if I show you, what you're actually looking at is the connector from this point. Where are we? Looking at this point down here, and this is magnified. And what you can't really make out here is the solder joints here aren't that good. And I think with the mechanical damage that's happened, I find it hard to believe that by pushing the cable in, I would have destroyed these solder joints. So I think one of the two of these solder joints was a bit loose, and one of them, there's the the staggered connections, as you can see there. So when this flips up, the cable actually sits on here and it clamps down onto these pins. And some of these pins were not made electrically. So what I'm going to do is um, I'm going to attempt to rework this array of pins here, because these pins look as if they're solid and they're well soldered, but the back one, as it happens to be, if you can believe it, is the ones which are the most worst to get at, which are the ones which are the problem. Now, how am I going to do this? I'm going to actually try and do it in real time whilst you witness it. Now, whether you will see what I'm doing is another story. So I have my soldering iron, and it's like an elephant's foot compared to the pins here. So what I'm going to have to do, to make sure I get my cable out of the way, is I'm going to have to bring this forward slightly. It might be a bit of cajoling. I'm going to try and solder. I don't have enough reach, believe it or not, on my soldering iron, so I'm going to have to try and move that in somehow and get him down to here. Can I do that? He said. Hopefully. Might be a bit better. I should have done this beforehand because I'm making a bit of noise here. Yes. I'm awfully sorry about that. I'm just trying to do as I go. Now, let's have this here. So what I'm going to do, get that one off. Put that there. And what have I got here? I'm just going to put this back in to there. I'm going to have to try and clean this up as much as possible before I do it. Let's get that cable out there, bring it along to here. It's not great, I must admit, but this will have to do. Right, he says. I just wanted some reach on this. There we go. I'm going to have some nice reach so I can do it in. I'm going to put this light on here. No, that's not going to be too good. Bring it up a bit. Now, what I shall do is I shall do this. I'm going to actually, I could take this plate off, but really it's going to be a real pain. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to try and get in with my solder and just reflow the solder along the back here as best as I can, but I'm going to have to do it under the magnifying glass. It won't make for much good viewing, but what I'll do is I'll take a picture and you can see here what it looks like at the moment. That's what it looks like at the moment, and then I shall try and attempt to take another picture the same as that, and I shall commence the viewing, and then we can see in real time if that button starts to work. You never know, it may completely damage it. So I'm going to just pause it for a little while and attempt it. So I should be back in a little while, but in 0 time for you. Okay. Well, after a lot of attempting and trial and error, see if I can get this up there so you can see it. I don't suppose you'd be able to focus in on it. I've tried to rework it. I was going to take a photograph, but I've still had no success trying to rework this connector here. It got worse, it got better, and if I pull this circuit across again, picture, sorry, if I pull this across, oh, I don't really want that big. Let's zoom it to the, so you can see it. Sorry about that. Let's just take it back slightly. If you notice along here, it was one of these pins were pushing out, and it could have been that me pushing in and then reconnecting this, trying to get it originally in. But I would have to say that this should be soldered a bit more robustly than that and take a bit of abuse with it, just the cable slotting in and out. You can't really put much force on it because you're sliding it into the slot between the pins, and it clamps down with this. Now, if you look along here, look at the level of these pins. these two are out further because I think the solder connections on this had actually broken during the smash, which is an absolute shame. And this pin here actually, I could actually move this pin back in. So I ran the solder across the front, which looks okay, but I still haven't had any success with these. And I think what's actually happened is this plastic is very, very susceptible to heat, and it just melts like you wouldn't believe. So I tried to actually get these resoldered, and then aligned all the pins in situ, and they look as if they're there, but I still think one of these pins is loose. So what I might have to do is, unfortunately, I might have to change this PCB here with a spare one I've got. Now with the back plate, um, with the back plate, obviously I don't want to damage the cable any, because the screen's good, everything else is good here, but I might have to um, remove the PCB because it's very hard to rework this in situ, and I don't think it really matters if I might in the process take this uh, screen off and connect the cables back up, or it might give me slightly better access into the connector. But in all honesty, I think it's if I'm going to strip it down and retest it after I've taken this plate back off, then if I still haven't any joy, I'm going to have to bite the bullet, and I'm going to have to remove the PCB, which I will do a video of again, and it'll be a part 3 now, I'm afraid, and which means disconnecting these buttons and this top and getting, I don't think I have to take anything off this side at the lens assembly, just to remove the cables and remove this PCB, and I can look at my spare to see what's entailed in that, because I'll have to remove the PCB from the original donor P900, and yeah, well, I'll have to come back later. I've run out of time now. I have been persistent, but it's very difficult using my magnifying glass and getting the soldering line in at the same time, and yeah. So bad news, I'm afraid, with this. It doesn't seem to be able to rework it, and you have to be very careful about applying the heat because it just melts and deforms the whole thing, and it doesn't look very pretty at the moment. But I think these are all a bit more robustly soldered, which go to the smaller pins. But I aligned these pins up as best as I could with what looked like here, because these are solid, and to try to resolder again, and it was very difficult to get the cable in because it deformed. And once I thought I had the cable in, I clamped it down, and then I had no buttons work. I just had one button working. So I thought I took it out again and tried to rework once more. And then what I did is to try and align the pins. I put the scalpel blade right along inside here to try and make sure the pins were leveled. And what actually happened was this pin here, the fourth pin in, the second inside one, pushed out again, so she still wasn't soldered. And I was really fighting a losing battle. And I just thought, well, sorry, this one here, I think it was, because that's out and that's out. They need to be at this level to actually make contact with the array of pads on the actual ribbon cable. So just an update, and yeah, the saga continues, I'm afraid. And yes, I had to have a lot of patience this time, and I respect the comments that were made on the last one. So patience of a saint, and I really had to work at it this time, believe me. So I will give an update and when I get some more time, I guess. But thanks for watching, and yeah, watch this space, I guess. Okay, good night.